Okay, hello everyone. Today we're talking about defending against the one club opening bid, and it is a defense that I've been working on for quite a while now, and I am really excited to share this to you guys because I think defensive bidding kind of just been overlooked for quite a while now, and this is definitely a little bit of an underexplored part of bridge bidding theory, and I think there's some very exciting things you can do today. Now we're just gonna go look at it. So first, we're gonna look at one club as an opening bid, and really the modern trend for one club the opening is just not a lot of shape information. So like in a typical 5-5, there's a lot of 5-5-4-2 systems out there right now, and there where you open one diamond and that promises an unbalanced hand. Also, you're opening one club on a bunch of balanced hands. So like hands like 3-4-4-2, even 3-3-5-2 are like getting open one club, and one club is at a frequency like way higher than what we've seen before. Like also Polish club, which is a bit of an older system. I know old fashioned, don't play it as much anymore, but it's still highly effective, and but they also give very low shape information. Obviously, precision is another one, but that's kind of a different mindset because you're less likely to make game. So sometimes you might want to play a different defense. Although the defense we're going to talk about today, I play over against precision most of the time. Yeah, and even like traditional 5-5-2-3, like better minor styles, do not give a lot of shape information. Realistically speaking, if you think about how often the opponents are sure that they have a club fit, quite often the responder will not know that they have a club fit immediately, right? So if you have 5-3 fit, like basically responder needs to know that they have 5 clubs in order to comfortably raise clubs a lot of time. I know a lot of older players would also raise on 4, but then you're raising at the 2 level, which is not that preemptive, and it's pretty easy to deal over, right? Um, and also because of these low shape information situations, a lot of times you need to have a way to show clubs over the one club opening, especially if you have intermediate hands, say 12 to 16 range ish. You need to have a way to show like a good 6 card club suit, right? And those hands, they kind of get brushed over in like let's say traditional overcall system where you're playing a 2 clubs Michaels, and then you're playing 3 clubs as this intermediate hand, and really that's just a very high level. Like there's a lot of shape that you're unresolved, and you just don't have a lot of space over that 3 clubs intermediate bid to really figure out when do I have game, when do I have game. Um, it's just very tricky to play over. I know a lot of people who likes to play 2 clubs intermediate and 2 diamonds Michaels, which is fine, but then 2 diamonds is low frequency and is actually a very effective bid. So there's a take and go there, and as you might discover later in this video, there's a reason why I do actually really like 2 clubs as Michaels in a defensive system that can afford to play 2 clubs as Michaels ish. So let's just talk a little bit about the goals of defensive bidding, and really it's about finding fit, especially quickly, and but one thing that needs to kind of be emphasized is that you kind of have more time when you're fit of spades, especially because a lot of the time when they get to the 2 level. So, for example, the auction goes a club, you bid a spade, showing 5 plus spades. Your partner only has 2 card spades, and then your lefty bids something like 2 clubs. And then if the auction goes pass to you, you have a lot of time. You can afford to bid 2 spades with your 6 card spade suit, right? So there, you are okay because you're the spades, you have the master suits. So a lot of the time, the opponents can really only afford to bid at the 2 level. And if your suit was like hearts or something, and the opponent's trying spades, it's much more risky to come in there. But spades, there's a little bit more time when you're finding fit. And another thing is that a 4-4 is more likely than a specific 5-3. For example, if you guys play a 1 spade overcall of 1 club as can be 4, um, you're going to have more auctions of one club, one spade, whatever, two spades by your partner, promising four cards, then you specifically bidding one spade with five card spades, and your partner was three spades, raising to two spades. So it's actually very important to be able to show four card suits immediately, if you think about it that way. And also, you want to take space also as fast as possible, and typically that is through finding fit. And also, you kind of want to give less information when you're taking space safely, and especially if you cannot take space safely, you want to not give too much information. Um, and also, you want to find games when it's plausible. There's a lot of shaping hands. You're going to bid a lot of thin games, that kind of thing. And also, lastly, defensive information. You want to give your partner uh, help on defense, which is very helpful. Now, if you think about the common defensive bidding techniques, you really split them up into two types, right? You have your at least suit defensive bidding, and the most frequent ones you have are going to be takeout doubles and your simple suit overcalls, right? So when you make a takeout double, that is basically you saying, "Hey, this is I don't have a standout suit. I want to find four forfeits specifically." But it doesn't necessarily show specific four card suits, and there is a modern tendency to push what you kind of want to do with a lot of takeout hands, right? Um, where there's a lot of off shape hands. For example, what do you do with 2-4-4-3 over one club? What do you do with 3-4-2-4 of one club, right? Those type of hands that don't necessarily have a perfect shape for takeout doubling. You have a lot of problem, and especially 5-4 hands. You don't necessarily want to make a suit overcall for reasons that we'll get to immediately after, but you kind of want to make a takeout double, but then you don't necessarily have the third suit, right? So what can we do in those type of situations? And the suit overcalls, it shows a 5 card suit, which is a lot of information. It's great, and it's more preemptive, which is nice, right? However, you're basically giving up on finding full forfeits most of the time. For example, the auction goes one club, one heart. So one club on your right, you bid one heart, pass. Now, your partner, when they bid one spade, the standard says that promises a 5 card spade to you. And if you say, oh, well, why don't you just play one spade as showing 4, and you have problems with finding 5-3, like if once the auction gets a little bit more complicated, you might have problems, right? Especially if the auction goes one club on your right, you bid one heart, lefty bids pass, your partner bids one spade, righty passes, and now you have a 3 card support hand. You don't feel comfortable bidding 2 spades, so maybe you say bid one no trump or something. And now lefty bids 2 clubs. Now your partner with 5 card spades, they cannot really safely bid 2 spades a lot of the time. Just something to think about, right? That's just an example of how sometimes you can miss these 5-3 fits if you play one spade there as showing 4. But if you play as showing 5, you're just saying, I'm giving up on 4 fits, and that's really not ideal, right? So especially when you have 5-4 hands here, you have a lot of problems, right? You don't necessarily want to make a suit overcall because you're giving up on 4 forfeits, but you don't necessarily have a takeout double as well. Yeah, and that's kind of a problem that really is, I think, pretty easy to solve over the one club bid at least. And one, and the most important thing we need to examine that is, what do you do with the one club, one diamond bid, right? So in standard, your one diamond bid shows 5 diamonds, and it's like 7 to 17 ish. And really, I mean, it's high information. It's good, but the problem is your partner can only really raise 2 diamonds most of the time, so you're not being very preemptive. Your opponent has a myriad of options over the one diamond, right? You can double for 4 majors, you can bid one major, and then typically will deny the other major unless you're 5-4, and then you just like the opponents just have so many options over this one diamond immediately that even if the auction say go one club, one diamond, now lefty bids one major that denies the 4 card major in the other suit most of the time, even if your partner is able to immediately raise to three diamonds, whether or not there is a major fit is already known to the opener already, because there's so many options over one diamond. Like the opener can really get a lot of definition, right? And partner usually, and also this is kind of a lowering frequency bid, right? If you think about standard systems, when in a typical 5-5-3-3 system, you're opening one diamond a lot more than you're opening one major, right? And but here we're bidding one diamond at the exact same frequency, really, maybe even a little less as compared to our one major calls. That's kind of illogical, right? You have a lot of space, you can do a lot of constructive bidding over it, right? So one kind of solution with the 5-4 problems in mind, we really thought of, is that we should bid one diamond showing spades. Just a little bit more context. If you bid one diamond showing spades, the reason why we decided that one diamond should be in a hand with four more spades and can be canapé is because over that bid, you can bid one heart as a bit of an artificial query, and that will actually clear up your entire hand shape, right? You can also theoretically play like support doubles over this, and this kind of gets very helpful. And really, a very strong point is that your partner can immediately raise to two spades with 4-4 spades. The auction goes one club, one diamond, pass. Your partner can raise to two spades. And of course, this is a difficult auction for the opener, or the auction can go one club, one diamond, one heart, or two clubs. And your partner can immediately raise to two spades. And really, this auction is going to be more frequent than one club, one spade pass, two spades, or one club, one spade, whatever, two spades, right? Because once again, the 4 forfeit is more likely than the specific 5-3, right? When we say 5-3 is more common than 4-4, it's because either partnership can have a 5. But right now, we're only talking about the immediate overcaller having 5-card spades. And that's going to be rarer than the immediate overcaller having 4, as well as your partner having 4. So the typical structure after this is that after one club, one diamond pass, because the one diamond is capped bid, usually capped around 17 or at 15, as we will talk about later. But passing is an option, especially when you have diamonds and when you have no hope for game. And then we talked about this already, where we can play one heart as a forcing query, and then that really is going to have a lot of methods to bid one no. You're going to have a lot of ways to show one no. You're going to have you're just almost all the time you're going to find the correct par score after this one heart forcing query, which is why it's because one diamond is such a low level bid, right? And we have the space to really shows everything. And for those of you who don't know what canapé means, it just means that the suit bid later is longer than the suit bid initially. So in this case, if the auction goes, say, one club, one diamond, one heart, two diamonds, for example, they're saying I have 4-card spade suits and I have 5-card diamond suits, at least. And also, one other minor point you might want to bring out is that you want to think about what range one club, one diamond, one heart pass on your left. One club, one diamond pass, one heart pass, two spades show. Because one spade shows 5+ spades, but what does two spades immediately show? It's typically probably a weaker range, whatever. Or maybe you want to play a stronger range, so maybe like 13 to 15. You get a little bit more definition there, right? You can play one spade as a 3-card raise, which is very helpful. It can also be very weak in 4 cards in some situations. So basically, the inability to make a 2-spade raise. And if you think about it, we actually can play transfers here, because it's actually very important to have a way to show clubs, right? As we demonstrated, and we're going to apply that principle also to the partner of overcall. And then now, because we play transfers, we can afford to play 2 hearts as that transfer raise, the plus card, sound plus. And then you have 2 spades as the garbage courtesy raise, promising 4 cards. pretty logical stuff, I hope. And then at the 3 level, you can play whatever you want, really. I'm not going to get into it here because that's more your choice. Okay, let's talk a bit about pros and cons for this approach. Remember, 4-4 spade fits is more common, so here we just said 1 club, 1 diamond, whatever, 2 spade. It's going to be more frequent than 1 club, 1 spade, whatever, 2 spades, theoretically, right? And it allows for lighter, safer overcalls with 4 spade 5 minor hands, especially with the 4 spade 5 club hand. In a standard system, you'd be basically stuck. And if you play 2 clubs natural, then you can only really get in with that hand if you have 12 or more high card points, really. But if you play this, you can overcall 4 spade 5 minor hands with basically any 7 hands, which is very important. Which is very important, right? And if you think about even the hands with 4 spades 5 diamonds over 1 diamond, it's not always that you're going to find a triple spade fit, right? And this allows you to do that, which is super important. And it also allows for showing clubs, right? So your 5 spade 4 club hand, 4 spade 5 club hand, those hands are great. The cons are you're going to take up a little less space than 1 spade initially. So the theoretical point of view is that when overcaller do have 5 card spades, lefty gets a little bit more definition in their bits, right? So theoretically, your opponent can double for 4 hearts, and then your 1 heart can promise 5 more hearts. That wouldn't necessarily always be an option over 1 club, 1 spade, because 2 hearts is a much less safe level, right? Now, just to say this, the reason why I say theoretically here is because I've in my 2 years now, almost 2 years now of playing this defense, I've never actually seen an opponent play the double for 4 hearts and 1 heart for 5 plus hearts definition, and that's just because this is a defense system that's as a byproduct of being a newer defense system, people really don't know about it, and people are not really prepared about it, right? And also another con is that the auction can get tricky if it goes 1 club, 1 diamond, 3 clubs, especially if you have like a 5-3 spade fit potentially, right? It's a little bit harder in those situations, but at least you know that your partner probably has some kind of shape or good balanced hand or like something in that situation. But it does get a little bit murky. But the good thing here is that this auction is not that common. You kind of really need the partner of, well, the responder to have 5 card clubs, which is not that frequent. And also it has less defensive information when there is no second bid. So like, as opposed to standard C overcalls, you get a lot more shape information. So redirecting wise, it's a bit better. And also one more pros here that I think I never wrote, but when you bid 1 club, 1 spade, showing 5 or more spades, the opponents are basically can very, very easily deny spades as potential fits, so they don't have to bid with that in mind. When you bid 1 diamond showing only 4 spades, it's a bit more preemptive in that way, where they still need to weigh to at least show 5 card spade suits, right? And that can get really tricky. So just something to think about. There is times where this 1 diamond bid can kind of snipe out 4 spade fits or in fact 3 spade fits. Just something to think about. Now, we can't just talk about the defense without just talking about 1 single bid, and we need to talk about the rest of the 1 club defense. And really, I'd say there's 2 main options that I've played, and both are pretty solid options actually. So here's the thing. If you want to retain a traditional takeout double, then you would play double for takeout. And the advantage of this is that you're not really ever losing frequency against the standard 1 club bidders. So like you have a bid with 3-4-4-2, you have a bid for 3-4-5-1, and whatever. And also when you play double for takeout, you might want to consider equal level conversion, because then with 4 spade 5 hearts, you wouldn't necessarily have to do the dance of, do I bid one diamond or do I bid one heart, right? Where if you bid one heart, you're kind of giving up on four card spade suits. If you bid one diamond, you can actually pretty easily show canopy of two hearts. But in the auction of one club, one diamond, three clubs, that may get sniped out, right? So if you consider double here as equal level conversion, then you might solve that problem. Anyways, one heart as five more hearts is pretty standard. One spade is going to be your kind of quote unquote raptor bid. Once again, we want to demonstrate our full card major is very important, right? This is kind of aligns our defensive philosophy. And the reason why we play one spade as the raptor bid here is because you basically always need one no as the standard 15 to 18 balanced definition, because you have double for takeout, right? And this is just very necessary. And then you need to play two clubs and two diamonds as intermediate bids, because once again, showing clubs, having a way to show clubs and having a way to show diamonds is super important. One more thing to say is that if you dislike the fact that you don't have Michaels in the scheme, you might be able to play two hearts and three clubs as Michaels. Okay, another option is that you can play a power double. And what power double is that you're effectively playing double as 15 plus or maybe 16 plus any. And this is effectively going to be the same as you just opening a precision club, right? And you kind of, for all those precision players out there, this is actually one thing that would be pretty helpful, because you can kind of play all your precision one club agreements here, and then your system would be quite strong still. But if you're a standard bidder, just know that there's a bit of a memory strain here, where you kind of need to be prepared over a competition after one club double something, or one club double. You need to have proper follow-ups to that, right? But then you play one hearts for 5 plus hearts, and then you play one spades here. You can play 6 clubs or 5-4 plus in the minors. And this is the reason why we play one spade here as this, and we play one spade here as raptor, is because now we freed up the one no natural bid, because we play power double. So we can bid one no with 4 hearts and 5 minor, and you can bid one spades for 6 plus clubs and 5-4 in the minors. And the reason we want to do this is because we want to play 2 clubs as majors. And now, because you're 2 clubs, you're not at 2 diamonds, you can actually afford to do this when you have 5-4 in the majors, right? Because now you have 2 diamonds to ask for longer majors. This is the same idea why people play Landy or play multi-Landy over Capoletti, is because you have 2 clubs and then there's a 2 diamonds bid. You can clarify which major is right. So even when you're like 3-3, when partner of Overcaller is 3-3 in the majors, you still find the right fit. And this is actually really helpful. And remember, this solves our ELC problem, and then this 2 diamonds as diamonds intermediate, which is quite necessary. And really, the difference between these two is that whether or not you have the takeout double or the power double. Takeout double, you're going to have less swings, which is helpful. Like with power double, you might have to pass on some hands where you traditionally takeout double for, which is unfortunate. But hopefully, most of the time you can. If you have 4 spades, you can get to bid 1 diamond on those, and if you have like 3-4-5-1 specifically, you have 1 no. So hopefully that's not too frequent. And so the only hands where you're really losing out on is like 2-4-4-3, not 2-4, mostly 3-4-4-2 actually, which is the most annoying part. But because your power double is at 15 plus any, all your other bids have a lower ceiling, so they're more defined, and you can afford to go slightly lighter on them, and that kind of gets really nice, especially over 1 diamond or even 1 spade. Like all these intermediate bids having a lower ceiling at roughly 14 to 15-ish, that's really, really helpful. Now, one thing I want to talk about here is the ACBL special, which is something you can only do in the ACBL land, of course, because the ACBL doesn't have any regulations on what the Q bid can be. Really, it just can't be initial destructive action. If you don't know what that is, just look up the ACBL convention chart. It's on there. But you can play 2 clubs as clubs intermediate, or as a diamonds preempt. And this, if we look back here, is because you don't have a diamonds preempt in this two diamonds option. So it's actually very helpful to bid two clubs on those hands. Once again, this is a bit of a loss if you're playing against a standard overcalling system, right? So this can kind of offset that, and this is actually a very, very tricky bid for your opponents. And then the follow-ups would be you kind of bid as partner has clubs intermediate. So if you can't, like if you would pass over a clubs intermediate bid, you would pass. And if you have game interest, you can bid two diamonds to for a partner to pass or tell me more, right? So if they have a clubs intermediate hand, they kind of treat this as artificial ask, and then they can bid whatever. And if your partner has a diamonds preempt, they can just pass this. Or you can bid three clubs as like a low courtesy raise, pass or correct. So this is actually a very helpful option if you're in ACBL, and it's highly effective, and it's honestly very, very tricky for the opponents to deal with, which is another topic for another day, I believe. But yeah, I think this is the one club defense, and I think this is actually very, very helpful. This is probably one of the most effective parts of any system I've played. Really, I insist on most of my partners to play some version of these one club defense, and it's just really, really strong, and it is quite good. Because you find all these four for spade threats, you are. I think this is leagues better than any one club defense out right now, and really, really, I think this is a big game changer. Anyways, thanks you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.